feeling stretched to the max in business, in home, in life, this is the podcast episode for you. Let's dive in. Hello. Welcome to Because I Can Live podcast. I'm Alison, and today we're going to be talking about being stretched so thin you feel like a chicken with your head cut off. The reason why I wanted to bring in today's guest, I'll tell you who it is in just a minute, is because I was actually going through this last week. We moved to Puerto Rico. The internet line was cut. I was in a hotel for a couple of days doing an event. We're getting our bathrooms done. And so all of the closets are basically shut down in the house except for 2. So 5 people are sharing 2 closets and 1 bathroom. And so I had stuff in this room and that room and this room, my work stuff spread out all over the place too. And I was feeling a little bit out of control. I looked at Jared and I'm like, why is my anxiety so high? What is going on? And we realized what it was. We were completely disorganized. Stuff was everywhere. And we had to make it a focus to get my office put together and a closet so that I'm not constantly thinking, okay, where is this? Where is this? Where is this? I just know where everything's located, because in the morning when I start my decision-making routine, if I've maxed them out, just trying to find my computer that I shoved under the couch late at night because I had to sit in a specific corner because the other side of the house didn't have internet, it was eating up all my decision-making. And so when I sat down to work, there was no creativity coming. And I just felt like I was hitting a block after block. And then my anxiety was rising, and it was so frustrating for me. And then when the whole family, I love them so incredibly much, we pulled a room together for me to be able to work, where there's quiet, where there's peace, where the internet is actually hardwired into the wall so I can have internet and it doesn't keep going out on me until we can figure out what's going on with the Wi-Fi. Anyway, they all pitched in and brought me this beautiful space for me to work. And I walked in this morning and it felt so peaceful and so calm. I knew where my microphone was. I knew where my pens were. I knew where my to-do list was. I knew where everything was at. So as I sat down, all of the stuff that was in my head for the last week and a half wasn't there anymore. And it left room for this creativity surge to come over me. And I busted out so much work today that my heart is so incredibly full. And I'm very excited for the content that is coming up to be able to serve you. So when I looked at today's podcast with the queen of decluttering, Allie Casazza, I was like, man, this day was meant to be. This day was meant to be to help us take a deep breath, to declutter, to organize our spaces so that we can feel the peace, to be able to have space in our brains to serve at such a higher level. So that's what today's podcast episode is about. I'm so thrilled that you get to learn from Allie today. She's actually been on another podcast with me. So this is her second podcast episode because that is how impactful this woman is and how much she can change your life if you listen to her words. All right, let's dig in. You launched a book. You're doing all the things. Catch me up to date, because we had you on the podcast 6 months ago, and your world has totally been put on fast forward. You're living in a different location. You're dealing with different things. You released a book. Go. Tell us all the things.
So I moved across the country from San Diego to Greenville, South Carolina, which is amazing and beautiful. So different in some good ways and some hard ways. We've always homeschooled our kids, and we put them in school this year because something had to give for me, you know.
We started homeschooling this year and you did the opposite.
We did the opposite. Yeah. It was like, okay, we're renovating a house that's smaller than our other one. So we're not used to like being this squished together. The book tour press stuff, like constantly shushing everyone. Like it just wasn't the vibe. So they went to school and they're doing great. They're loving it. They're a little rough adjustment at first. Now it's really great. And yeah, I wrote a book, Declutter Like a Mother, and it's been crazy. Like it's out, it's everyone's tagging me with my book in their hands, which is the coolest thing ever. Yeah, it's been crazy. I think that I wasn't understanding fully from everyone that kind of warned me how crazy the book tour stuff is. It's like a lot of saying the same things over and over again, a lot of people not understanding me or reading the book and just having me on. So like asking questions that are not relevant and having to like, just like the energy of outputting so much, you know what I mean? It's interesting. I'm learning a lot for next time for sure.
Okay. And I have your book. I sent it to Utah. And then I put it in a box to get shipped back to Puerto Rico. And guess where it's at? In a box, still in transit somewhere. I'm a little bit annoyed with it. So, okay, tell us the process of why you decided to write this book. And just so you know, your podcast that you did with me is like one of the most listened to podcasts. So your message is so strong and so pure and so needed right now of decluttering not only our homes, but our minds and our businesses, that I think everybody needs to buy this book. Everybody needs to buy this book.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. Yeah. So, I mean, I've been blogging about this for almost a decade, just about a decade, and then turned it into a business like 5 or 6 years ago. And so talking about this online and like doing lives and showing up and then podcasting and courses and all of it has been so good. But I really went back and forth, honestly, about like self-publishing, which I've done before. And it didn't go well, but I also wasn't where I'm at now. Mm-hmm. So I went back and forth on that and like traditional publishing. And really when it came down to it, like I've just always wanted to go the traditional publishing route with all of its problems and all the complaining people do about it. I've just always wanted to do it. And I really wanted to like go big and wide with my message and like get into Target with ease and get into these big stores that these people just have connections with. And really like the whole point wasn't to make money on the book. Of course, like of course I got an amazing book deal and want to make money, but the biggest goal was to get the message out as far as humanly possible. And so when I partnered with HarperCollins to do that, it just changed my whole world. Like bringing somebody else even into your message is a huge shift. And I learned a lot, like right away. I learned a lot of really good things. I learned a lot of really difficult things. But writing the book itself was pretty easy for this particular one, just because I'm saying this stuff like all the time. I think the hardest part was having input from someone else on, like, for example, there are certain things like phrases that I'll just say all the time. Like it's like a catchphrase of mine. It's like an Allieism or whatever. And my editor would see something like that and be like, I don't understand what this means. Like, this doesn't really communicate the message. Like, we need to change this. And I'd be like, so self-conscious because like that is kind of one of the main things that I say like all the time. And just having to like, it pushes you. It makes you think about what you're saying and makes you think like, how could I be better at communicating this? How could this reach people that are in a different lifestyle than me, that have had different experiences than me? Like it's a stretcher for sure. And it made me a better teacher. So I'm super grateful for that part of the process for sure.
You know, it is interesting that you're saying this because I think so many times, like we live in our heads so much and we say the things that just seem natural. And when we're marketing or communicating or doing anything out there, there's a whole world that's like, what are you even talking about? And so to have someone question you
of your business and you just say it all the time, maybe the people that have been around for a long time get it. Mm-hmm. But when it made me realize that people that come in the gates don't know what's going on. And I'm saying all these things like all the time. And if I could stop and explain it better, and even like being more inclusive about where people are coming from and that they don't understand or aren't even like in a place in their life where they would even think to look at this issue, their environment, their home, like they're not even there. They Googled organization or something on Pinterest and found me and they're totally lost. So it's definitely kind of made me get back to like Allie 101, I guess, and refine it and become a better teacher and leader. And since I went through the book writing process, the book, wasn't even out yet. And my message was spreading further. My my stuff was converting higher. Like my ads were converting higher. My emails were getting open more. And I really think it's just because this process refined the way I say the things that I say so more people understand them. It's clarity, really.
I love it. I love it. So for those that are listening the first time, what is your message? I know I just kind of gave a little synopsis of it, but what is your message? And then can you give us examples of some of the things that you've had to say, I need to reframe that. I need to teach that better.
Mm-hmm. So my business is at the biggest version of it. It's really just working up against this like stereotypical motherhood idea or like hot mess mom culture, or whatever you want to call it, that really just subscribes to the idea that it's hard. It's always going to be awful. It's always a mess, always a disaster. And there's really no way around it. Like it just is what it is. And just like coffee till wine and like get through the day and like just wait till they're teenagers. It gets even worse, but also carpe diem because it goes so fast. Like this hopelessness meshed with like, you better soak it up. And everyone's just agreed that it's a mess and it's perpetuated in the media where like the woman that isn't really like that and kind of has it together and is feeling really good in her body and like taking care of herself and feeling like I got this. Like she's always the villain. She's the mean mom, just things like that. I don't think it's helping anyone. I think it's has women limited in their beliefs about what motherhood gets to be. And I know for a fact, it has a lot of young women who haven't decided if they want to be mothers or not, scared. And there's something wrong there. So I'm really working against that. And the way that I do that is there's a framework that I've developed over the years that takes women through like really a lifestyle audit. And we start with the home because the physical environment is where everything is happening. It's literally your home base. It is so foundational and so important. And so that's why Declutter Like a Mother is book 1 of the 4 that I'm contracted to write, because we're starting with the physical foundation. You change your physical foundation, you absolutely change your life. It's so therapeutic. It's backed by science. It is so effective and pretty easy in terms of all the other stuff that we sometimes have to work through and change, really deep emotional issues, childhood trauma. If you can let's just declutter your kitchen so it functions better and it's serving you, like that feels really good. And then it lifts your mood, and there's a whole science to it that we can get into if you want to, but it's somewhere to start and it's somewhere really effective. So
I actually want to dig into that a little bit more. What are some of the scientific reasonings why we should declutter?
Okay. I can get so deep on this, but I'm just going to try to start small and you just prompt me to go deeper when you want me to. Okay. So because of energy and atoms and things that take up mass and the way that science works, everything has a frequency. Everything is emitting a frequency, right? And so there's fascinating videos on YouTube about the different frequencies of food, and a really great grass-fed burger has a really high frequency, and a meal from McDonald's actually has the same frequency as a corpse. It's literally emitting the frequency of death. I'm obsessed with science and frequency and all of that and how it affects us. So the frequency of a normal, healthy human body is somewhere between 62 and 72 hertz. Okay. That's you're good, you're healthy, you're happy. Can't really get depression when you're there. It's pretty impossible to get sick when you're there. That's healthy. When you get to around 58 hertz, you enter disease state. This is when your immune system is lowered. It's, compromised. A lot of women get hormone disorders. They start to develop adrenal fatigue is really common at that hertz. Things that are just you're not doing well, Then we're susceptible to autoimmune and all these things. So this is my favorite thing about decluttering. I know I'm a total nerd right now, but just bear with me.
No, I love it. Keep going.
Okay. So basically, what your frequency is and what everything in all the frequencies around you, what you're eating, this matcha latte has a frequency that's higher than a soda. Everything has a frequency, and the frequency that you are emitting comes from what you are taking in and from your environment. Your environment is everything you're taking in visually, everything you're taking in with food, the water you're drinking. Different bottled water and quality have different frequencies. There's a whole book about that, which is fascinating. I can link that for you guys. It's amazing. So if the most the biggest impact on our frequency. And this is like our health and like our mental health. And it changes the way we parent. It changes the way the ideas we have or don't have for our businesses. Like it changes everything. If the environment is the biggest impactor of your frequency, like, and that's so easy to control. Yeah. Like it's literally this big tool you could have in your toolkit to pull out and make you better and make your family happier and make things lighter for yourself at any time. And my favorite thing about decluttering is it is the fastest and longest term way to raise your frequency and increase your mood. You're just a better version of yourself. You're increasing everything. Literally your mood shifts. You are literally helping yourself not get sick, which I think a lot of people are worried about right now. Like you literally, your frequency is what your quality of life is in the end. So when we declutter, we literally get stuff out of our way, and that immediately raises the frequency of our environment, thereby raising our frequency. So it's really quick, which I think we all love things that are a quick fix. It's like immediately boosting your quality of life, and it's long-term because it's not like you're going out and like immediately going to like, okay, I'm going to go and pick up stuff from the dump and like bring in a dump truck and fill the bathroom back up with stuff, even though I just decluttered it. Over time, of course, it can get back if you're not watching it, but it's really quick and it's long-term. So you're just boosting your quality of life like right away. There's that side to it. Also, a little bit more of a surface side to it that I still think is fascinating. There was a study done at UCLA a few years ago that is so impactful. They turned it into a book and you can get it on Amazon for like $1 million, but just don't do that. And I'll just tell you what it is. It's amazing and in depth. But the gist of it was they did a study on a bunch of homeowners in California. I think it was like 60 to 100 of them. And they tested the amount of stuff they had, like just random stuff that they had labeled as clutter. And their definition of clutter, which is my definition of clutter, is basically just things that are not necessary and feel like, why is this here? Like just old trophies, stacks of papers that need to be gone through, like things that are basically decisions and unnecessary stacks of things. Okay. The amount of clutter they had in their home was directly related to their cortisol level. Cortisol is the stress hormone. It showed that women were far more affected than men, which I think is so fascinating. We're so connected and so intuitive. Of course, it affects us more. Mm-hmm. And so they were swabbing the inner cheek of these homeowners. And literally when they take the clutter out, the cortisol would go down. When they would bring clutter in or just had it before they touched anything, and it was just the way they were living, their cortisol was more. So literally more stuff, more stress, less stuff, less stress. And I think in my own personal experience and the women that I've worked with and all of these students that I have, what I've seen is it's not just less stress. When there's space, something has to take it up. It's the law of the universe, right? And so you get to choose what takes it up. You're going to have more time for your business. Or you're going to have more time to meditate and do yoga, take walks with your kids. Like you're literally giving yourself more time and cleaning less. Like the amount that I could go on this is extensive, but basically like, why not? Like, how is it not affecting us? And it's so easy and right in front of us. Like, let's use this to get stuff out of our way and have time for all the things that we're always saying we don't have time for.
Yep. I love it. I love it. And I'm actually living that right now. So we came back to Puerto Rico and our internet was cut. And so I had to rent out a hotel for a couple of days, and then there was a mess there. So I had to come home. I had my computer in one space, my big screen in another space, my mic in another space. And every morning I just woke up and I'm like, this is so stressful. This is so stressful. I don't know where's my stuff. Where's my stuff? And then we're remodeling our bathrooms and there's dust everywhere. And so 5 of us are sharing 2 closets. And so I've got some stuff here, some stuff there. And it just felt so disorganized that it was really getting to me. And yesterday my husband looked at me and he's like, you're struggling. I'm like, yeah, it's because everything is so disorganized right now. And so the whole family put an effort on getting my office together and then a closet that I can use. And the amount of like stillness in my heart and my mind was undeniably different than 2 days prior. And then as I sat down to my desk this morning, all this creativity just poured into my head. because I had stopped thinking about where's this, I got rid of all that. I knew where everything was at. And I sat down and just allowed all this abundance to fill my mind because there was space there. So what you're saying, I'm living it right now, Allie. It is so true. So true.
And you don't notice it until someone like knocks you over the head with it, which is basically what I get paid to do. Like you realize it and you're like, oh my God. And like, that's the message. It's not you. Like those of you listening that just feel like you're a bad mom or you can't get it together or you must be the only one or everyone else's business is growing and yours isn't because you don't have enough time. And it's not you, it's your environment. You literally are a product of your environment. Marshall Goldsmith says in his book Triggers, which is a book about environment, and I highly recommend. He says, if you do not create and control your environment will create and control you. And that is so true. Like we got to get out of the victim mentality. Yes, kids are a lot. Motherhood is freaking hard. It's all the time. It never stops. Of course it's hard. Of course it's a lot. And of course you struggle with it all the time. But there's so many other things that we have ownership over that we could create space with, that we could make easier. If there's something you could do that makes things lighter, then you're going to be able to handle the hard stuff that you can't control. You have space for your kid to come home from school and have a total meltdown because you're their safe place. Yes. You have space to grow the business and do an extra webinar because you didn't make the money you wanted to last week. Like you can handle crisis, you can handle relationship issues. And when those things are not happening, you have all that sweet space for self-care and just sitting down and enjoying the life you built for a second instead of running around because there's always something to do. It's just, and this extends beyond your environment. It's also your calendar and your body, your well-being. Like this is what I do. This is the framework. We're just starting with the house because that's going to allow you to work on everything else.
Okay. So, for those that are listening, they're like, okay, I see it. I see that I live in clutter. I see that I'm not organized, but I'm overwhelmed. And I know the last episode you talked about starting with your bathroom. Do you still think bathroom's the best place to start? Or do you think the kitchen, you mentioned kitchen or a bedroom, what is the best place to start and not get completely overwhelmed? And then how do you even go about knowing what organization is or how to get rid of stuff and not feel the guilt of getting rid of stuff?
Yeah. Okay. So yes, I still say start in the bathroom just because it is really easy. Yes and no, get some momentum. It can be really daunting for people to start doing this. So you can kind of remove a lot of that by starting somewhere really easy, but like the bathrooms. But you can absolutely start somewhere else. I didn't know that when I started this. I just dove in. I started with the kids' toys because they were so overwhelming. You can start wherever you want and just have at it. You're going to see an immediate return on investment for that time you put in. And it's going to feel really good no matter what. But some people just get really stuck. And so the bathroom is an easy space to get going. And then tell me you had another follow-up question. Say it again. I forgot.
How do you know when it's organized or even how to not feel guilty for getting rid of stuff?
Okay. So here's the biggest, there's like layers to that, but the biggest thing I want people to understand is you're not going to do everything perfectly perfect, thinking ahead and knowing everywhere you're going to be in the future all the time when you're buying things. You didn't waste money when you're getting rid of something that is not serving you and you're creating space and taking ownership of your environment. That's not wasting money. Maybe you did waste money when you bought it. And maybe this could just be a lesson, a note for you to think, okay, now after the purging, I want to make sure that I'm shopping more mindfully. And I'm noticing I'm getting rid of like hundreds of hair clips. Maybe I'm not the kind of person that wears hair clips and I should stop buying them. Like, don't look at it so negative. Don't look at it with lack that you're wasteful and like, oh, this money, I could have had this. I shouldn't have done this. It's all just a lesson. Like you're going to learn a lot about yourself when you declutter. And I think that's why it is sometimes overwhelming, lots of emotions and lessons and decisions involved, but that's a good thing. Like you're learning and you're growing, you're becoming better. So guilt really has no place in this process. If it's there, ask like, is it helping you? Is there something you need to learn? Is there something you need to let go of emotionally? Like you shouldn't be beating yourself up when you're going through this process.
I love it. One thing that's helped me is I actually give it to my little sister and she has used it, given it out And so when I'm looking at something, a shirt that I haven't worn in 6 months, I'm like, that's still a really good shirt. And I paid $30 for it. I just can't put it to the dump. And so me giving it to someone who will use it or knows someone who can use it has been so liberating in the guilt. Cause I'm like, oh, this just means someone else will be able to use it. And then now we tell our kids when they're going through their toys, hey, just think about your nieces and nephews. They're going to be able to play with these toys. And they're like, oh yeah, then yeah, let's give it away. That's so much easier to give it knowing that the end goal is for someone else to love it.
Yes. And that's something that I talk about in my book too. The double lesson too of empathy also, even outside of like, not really with family, but with like other humans.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even, there's been years ago when we lived in Arkansas, I took the kids with me to this center where we were like basically volunteering for like a couple hours. And they saw like women and children that had escaped really bad situations and like domestic abuse. And they were communicating with them and being around them. And I was like, this is where I always take our things. These are the kids that are getting your things. And that really shifted something for them. So, I mean, get out there and help show your kids or show them videos of like what centers are doing for people and connect them with something outside of themselves. It's not all about us. And this isn't like, oh, I need to keep this because I might not ever get it again. Like you're resourceful enough to get another spatula if you feel like you got rid of one that you needed. Like it's okay. And your kids need to learn that too. Like it's good for them to see, oh, like someone else is going to benefit from this. And I can always get something else if I need it. But usually that doesn't happen. Usually you declutter and you're like, I didn't need 17 spatulas. Cool. Like, you know what I mean? It's all good. Like no one's coming and taking your stuff. You don't need to feel that panic. But if you do, look into that. Where does that come from? And like, how can you shift it to, I'm setting myself free from consumerism and from having to run around like everyone else has agreed is fine to do. And if this is getting in my way and I'm feeling fearful, I want to dive into that and learn about myself and set myself free from that.
I love that. I love that so incredibly much. And then can we switch it to the mindful shopping?
Yeah.
I pride myself in mindful shopping. I don't want to fall into the trap. I don't want to have 30,000 hair clips. And I love mindful shopping and not just like, oh, let's add this, and this. Explain what that means. Explain how someone can start doing that, not falling into the consumerism. I'm in e-commerce. So on the opposite end, I'm teaching how to get everybody to buy everything. But how do we do that as individuals to really decide what we need?
Yeah. So, okay. It's kind of like if anyone's heard of just mindfulness in general, it's usually about like just being present for what you're doing. So you're breathing all the time. You don't have to think about breathing. But when you meditate, you're often guided to your breath. And if you've ever done that, you notice like, oh, like I'm breathing kind of weird and rapidly. Like I'm going to slow that down. Like you just become aware. So mindful shopping is the same thing. It's just being fully present for it. It's being aware. For me, especially like I've talked about this on Instagram often, my PTSD diagnosis in 2017 from being so broke and having everything taken from me and not knowing if I was going to get food led me when I like became wealthy to feeling like I needed to hoard food. And I wanted to kind of hoard things, but my job kind of kept me like, I'm talking about minimalism all the time. So it kind of kept me honest. Yeah. But it was a struggle for me. That was there. And so for me, it's about like, what's going on that I feel like I need like a hit to eat something that's not going to make me feel good or a hit to buy something. Why do I feel like I'll notice too, this is big for women. I will notice that I will tend to like go open an like Anthropology app or whatever and start to get kind of shoppy when I'm really unhappy with my body. Like that's going to make it better. And that's really common. So that mindfulness keeps me from doing that. Like, wait, am I really needing a dress for this event or am I feeling uncomfortable in my body? Well, it's the latter. So I know what to do for that. I'm going to work through that. I'm going to journal. I'm going to accept myself. And of course my body's going to shift as I go through life. It's okay. And like, this is where I'm at. The dress is supposed to support me, not the other way around. And like, I do the whole thing. So it's really just about that awareness and checking in with yourself. And then also like, okay, black skinny jeans. Do I already have this? Do I need this? How often will I wear it? What will I wear it with? Like going through it. Just because it's cute and beautiful and well designed doesn't mean it's for you and your lifestyle. So it's the awareness of what's going on in you when you're shopping, and the awareness of, am I actually going to use this? And then if you buy it and you think you will and you end up not, no big deal. Like you can, how cool that you get to pass on to someone less fortunate than you, basically a new pair of jeans. Like if you're privileged enough to be in that situation, who cares? Mm-hmm. So it's just let it go. There's no right or wrong. It's all just learning and becoming aware.
I love it. I love it. And then when people are like on the flip end of it, they think they have to price their product super low. And I'm like, no, people aren't looking for cheap product where they have to buy 100 of them. There's people that are mindful shopping that would rather buy one really good pair of jeans than 10 that they have to throw away. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's not about like low price leader. It's about serving such a high quality to support those mindful shoppers.
That's definitely another layer of mindful shopping. I'm looking at like, okay, this pair of jeans is $189, but this brand is sustainably made. Like they're doing good work with their company. I know this is going to last me a really long time. Like I'm going to think about it for a second, but that's helping me buy less too. Yep. $189 pair of jeans versus like $30 from Old Navy. Like I'm going to be like, wait, hold on. Let me take a picture of my butt in these before I buy them. Let me like make sure, what's the return policy on online shopping? Cause it's a lot. Yeah. So yeah, there are, and for your people, there are definitely people like myself included, my business friends, like everyone in my circle that is looking for the higher price. I will literally open Amazon if I need to get something that's like an Amazon thing. I will look for the most expensive one and then read about it, make sure it's good and pick that one because it was more expensive.
Yep. Looking for quality. We're tired of filling up Mother Earth with junk. Like we want high quality stuff that will last us a long time. And then even to be able to pass it down to like my sister, she's doing great, but we both love knowing that, okay, I might be done with it. So she gets to wear it for another 3 or 4 years. And then
totally. It's new to her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
totally protecting our planet because I think we need to. I think we need to be aware of that. Okay, so you've spent an amazing 30 minutes with us. Tell us more, where to find your book, where to find you on Instagram. If you haven't listened to other podcasts, go listen to other podcasts. Allie breaks down so much more. You need Allie in your life. Follow her on Instagram. That's an absolute must. Everybody has to follow you. So tell everybody all the details.
Thank you, friend. Instagram is a great place to connect. I share a lot every day there. Just search Allie Casazza and it'll come up. And the book is available everywhere. Declutter Like a Mother. I would love for you to get it. It's so like the beginning is very like understanding why, and it's going to set you so free from ideas that you thought about yourself or the way you're doing motherhood or life. And then we get super practical and it's like, okay, I'm not going to leave you hanging with like, but how do I apply this? Like it's loaded up. So I'm excited.
Love it. So good. Allie, thank you again for coming on the podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me, friend.
I could listen to Allie talk all day about simplicity and decluttering. Oh, it feels so light after I'm done talking to her. I want to dive into the top 10 takeaways. Here we go. Number 1, you must declutter your physical foundation. Number 2, the energy of your environment impacts you. Number 3, decluttering has fast effects on your body and is long-term. Number 4, more stuff equals more stress. Less stuff equals less stress. Number 5, it's not you, it's your environment. Number 6, if you're stuck, the best place is in the bathroom. Start there decluttering. Number 7, it's not wasting money to get rid of something that you're not using. Let someone else use it. Number 8, guilt has no place in the process of decluttering. Kick it out. Number 9, learn from the stuff that you're getting rid of to be able to help you make smarter buying decisions in the future. And number 10, be aware of why you are shopping. All right. I hope you loved that podcast episode. Go over there, give Allie some love. Check out her book. It's on Audible. Guess what? Audible's my friend. Anything that we can listen to while we're doing dishes and laundry and all the busy stuff of life. Audible has just made my life so much easier to be able to consume the things I need to hear. All right. Have a blessed, beautiful day. I'll talk to you later. Bye.